ID activity is any activity that takes place within the dimensions of life that we consider to be the other dimensions, or the non-physical dimension. Although the web of life is one and has no differentiation of dimensions, we categorize it this way in order to consciously understand it. In other words, in order for the mind to be able to consider the infinite, the mind needs to think in levels. Therefore, the mind considers life in two major levels, the physical and the non-physical. Most of that which exists within the physical dimension is considered known and understood, since the physical is regarded as tangible. And most of that which exists within the non-physical dimension is considered unknown and not understood, since the non-physical is regarded as intangible. This is where your thinking is in error, because much of the physical is not tangible, and much of the non-physical is very tangible. This sets up a lot of confusion regarding how we perceive and interpret both the physical and non-physical dimensions of life. In order for you to better understand the non-physical dimension, you need to first understand how the mind works regarding the non-physical. Even though your mind is infinite, the thinking part of your mind considers itself as limited. And the viewpoint of the limited mind is that everything else is limited as well. So the mind automatically puts limits on everything that it considers. Consequently, the mind literally stops itself from thinking beyond a certain point. And that certain point is not only the mind's choosing, but it's an illusion. In reality, everything is infinite, including the mind. But because the mind is coming from a limited standpoint, everything is filtered through this limited way of thinking. Now that you know how the mind thinks in a limited way, especially in regards to the non-physical, let's look at how the mind interprets interaction with the non-physical. Your physical existence causes you to not only think in a physical manner, but to relate in a physical manner. And the way that you physically relate is through your physical senses and sensations. You relate, perceive, and interpret according to how life interacts with your physical body. But remember, your body isn't just physical, it's non-physical as well. And your non-physical body interacts with your environment through the same senses, but just in a non-physical way. Let me give you some examples. How often have you been able to read between the lines when you hear a person speak just a few words? You physically hear just a few words, yet you know by hearing those words that it means much more. How about when you see a person smile and you know the smile is not genuine? Physically, all you see is the smile, yet somehow you know. How about an odor that triggers an emotion, but you don't know why? Or have you ever picked up an object and suddenly a memory involving that object is brought to mind just as clear as if it was yesterday? This may sound trivial, but the bottom line is that you instinctively pick up on the extra details that give you the extra insight. And those extra details contain both physical and non-physical properties which you detect and interpret through your senses. Psychics use the term the five clairs, C-L-A-I-R-S. Clair is a French word meaning clear, to describe their abilities. Some have psychic vision, some have psychic hearing, some have the ability through their sense of touch and even taste and smell. In addition to the five clairs associated with the five senses, there are two more clairs: clairsentience, which is sensing through the emotions, and claircognizance, which is the ability to psychically just know. The reason why I'm telling you this is to help you understand that we use more than just our five senses to pick up on the non-physical and the tiny details of the physical that we regard as intangible.